Welcome to the Top Shelf Dusters podcast. I am back. I am Amanda, the fact checker. I know Jesse especially missed me last
Not
week.
one bit.
Don't worry. I missed you too, Jesse. Don't worry.
Not at all.
We are obviously joined with Jesse.
I just kind of want hockey to end so I could have my evenings back.
Brett.
Over the next week, I will either be the happiest I've ever been as a hockey fan or the absolute saddest and embarrassed I've ever been.
Cass.
I have never known someone whose team has been up 3-1 be so petrified of the future.
The pessimism's real.
And Ethan.
I'm in vacation mode already, but Canada, get lost. You know you're not winning the cup. Come on.
I don't know, man. 8 goals. Just out of nowhere. They got an entire
22.
They got an entire series worth of goals in one game. Because they've only scored like 2.
They used them all up.
I know you guys know this because I said it in the chat, but I invited my dad over because I felt so confident on Saturday. I'm like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this thing.
This is ours.
And we're watching the game, and it's 1-0, then it's 2-0, that's 2-1. Oh, like, okay, here we go. This is it. And then I was like, I'm
Sound
sorry,
a little bit
Dad.
too real.
And I told him he's not welcome back for Game 5 or any other games.
Rightfully so.
He said he understands.
Rightfully so.
But let me ask you a question. If they lose Game 5 and 6, is he coming back for Game 7?
I think only if we're in the stands. That's the only way we watch Game 7 together. If we're at the game.
Get on it, Mr. Rocker. Buy some tickets. Get ready.
Cass is already predicting Game 7.
Yeah, you can fly me down too. I won't be too upset.
If this goes to 7 games, though,
That's a problem.
that's a problem. That's a major issue.
It would, like
Overtime?
I said to it before we started recording, it would just be the most Panther thing ever because we'll just continue to be the joke of the NHL, even though we've made the championship back times. Like, you blew a 3-0 series lead in the cup. That hasn't happened since 1943.
But
Yeah,
the
that's
thing
true.
is,
You can never talk shit about the Boston Bruins losing to the Panthers in the first round again.
yeah, that's true.
I
But
I will vow that if that happens, Cass, I promise I never will. Ever.
Edmonton, the last time, I mentioned it here, the last time Edmonton went to the Stanley Cup final, they gave a team south of the Mason-Dixon line their first cup, and that would be Amanda's Carolina Hurricanes. So
First and
you're
last cup.
in the right spot, Brett.
First and last.
Excellent.
More recent than yours.
Fine.
Is it though? Oh,
I mean, by math standards, yes. And it was this century. So
Cass gets bragging rights for most recent cup until this weekend.
until next Monday when the Edmonton Oilers win Game 7.
We have a shorter episode this week because we're just going to touch on the news. That way we can save all our Stanley Cup final talk for after the series ends. So
That's pretty much what we just talked about was your
Yeah,
Stanley Cup final
that's
talk
it.
for this episode.
That's all we're going to talk about. We'll start with like the coaching carousel because round and round they go. And we've got some head coaching firings and hirings, starting with Pascal Vincent of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Don Waddle.
Waddle.
Baby, Waddle, baby,
Waddle, Waddle, Waddle.
baby, Waddle. He was very quick to make some changes. He fired Pascal Vincent, who replaced Mike Babcock. So in 3 years, I believe it is, or in 2 years, in the
Less
last
than
2
3 years,
years, yeah, the Columbus Blue Jackets have had 3 different head coaches.
has that happened before at all with any team? Does anyone know?
I think
in
so.
Edmonton, right? Or was before Woodcroft and then Knobloch. That was all in a year.
We went.
Because Woodcroft came in halfway through last season, right?
Can't remember this one guy.
I don't
again.
recall.
For the Panthers, we started with Gallant, then we sent him on taxi, and then
That you didn't pay for.
Bald head
We're
idiot.
dirty.
Don't remember his name. Just that's what I'm gonna call him. Bald head idiot. Was the head coach, and then he hired Bob Bugner after
What a name, Bugner.
Bob Bugner.
Bob Bugner.
Speaking of bald-headed
Hey, Bobby
idiots,
Bugner.
Jim Montgomery, he was just in Dallas for
Ew.
2 years, and then we got Rick Bowness halfway through the second year. So we almost were there because we had a different coach before him. Or it was Lindy Ruff. Then Jim Montgomery, then Rick Bowness within a 2.5-year period.
Did you see the quote that Don Waddell said about after firing Pascal? Or Vincent, rather? He said, "As I spent time with Pascal over the past few weeks, I found him to be an outstanding person and smart hockey coach who worked very hard last year under trying circumstances. But I believe a change behind the bench is in our team's best interest." He's like, "Yeah, nice guy. Get him out of here, though. I don't want anything to do with him." I mean,
He's a good guy.
the dude did have like really trying circumstances, having a follow up from Mike Babcock after everything that happened last season. The Columbus Blue Jackets, their roster is just nowhere near competitive at all. I mean, it'll get there. I think that they've got some good prospects, but I think that they did him dirty a little bit. Kind of similar to what happened with David Quinn.
And for him, I mean, he's coming into this season expecting to be an assistant coach,
Right.
which he was for Columbus the last 2 years. And then they're like, "Hey, we had this crap go down. It's on you now." Like,
Don't look at anyone's phones.
it's so he was not prepared for this season. He did about what we expected. He's kind of like David Quinn, you know? I mean,
Exactly.
it kind of just like they can't release and trade all the players, so they fire the head coach.
Unfortunate.
But there is a hiring.
Yay, good news.
Does anyone want to take that one?
I got it.
No. Okay,
you can
go for
you
it.
can okay.
Oh.
Ryan Warsofsky, or Ryan Wars of Sky, as I found out, Cass had a nickname for him before we started recording. So that's probably what I'll probably refer to him as. He was named the head coach of the San Jose Sharks. He has been an assistant coach for the last 2 years, and he got that job by winning a championship for the Chicago Wolves in the AHL in 2022. I'll say that. Cass, you can take it from there if you had additional stuff.
Well, I just figured we went from Columbus. I was going to say, speaking about another crappy team, another team got coach. But I mean, good for him. I mean, yeah, it's the San Jose Sharks, but you're probably going to have Celebrini. You're going to have Will Smith. You know, they got draft picks and they got some prospects coming up. So if he lasts a couple years, that team could be relevant. They need a goalie, obviously, but they need Pickles to retire. Mark Edward Vlasic is getting paid like crazy amounts of money, and he's basically a healthy scratch at this point. So
took me a second to realize why you called him Pickles.
Vlasic. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those interesting things, kind of like David Quinn got fired for doing too good of a job of losing and getting them the number 1 overall pick, apparently. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him if they stink and they keep on getting high draft picks like you kind of want to at that point in your franchise's history at this point. You know, they're
The
not
rebuild.
expected to be. Yeah, you want to be able to get as high draft picks as you can. The Flyers kind of screwed that up this year.
But it's like, at what point do you actually start the build part of rebuild? Like, you've got to have a consistent coach and scheme going forward, right? You
Maybe
can't
that's
just.
the idea with this hiring.
Oh, that's the hope.
Unless he gets fired next
Well,
offseason.
Well, he came from the A. He's worked with the younger players, so I think that's the other thing they want, the younger players.
Nice to have
work
that.
through it. Yeah, so.
And like I
That's
said,
that.
he has won a championship. So he also lost a championship. I'm kind of looking here back when he was the head coach of the South Carolina Stingrays in the ECHL. Lost in the finals, his first ever head coaching job. He made it to the championship.
So he's lost a championship and won a championship, kind of like
Right.
the Florida Panthers could do by the end of the season.
Could do. I'm all about my ifs and coulds.
Is
No
that
Stanley
strategy?
Cup talk.
Okay.
Definitely
not Stanley
100%
Cup.
going to.
Yeah, Edmonton. Yeah, that's right. In further coaching news, go ahead. No.
Oh, I just wanted to say I'm calling my future band Wars of Sky, because that's badass.
It's amazing, yeah.
And I'm giving you zero credit.
Oh, it's okay. I'm used to it. I live with my wife. Dave Wojciechowski, his brother, played in Providence for a very long time, so that's how I kind of came up with that. My buddy who used to go to the Providence Bruins games, who is the whitest white kid you'll ever know, didn't know how to pronounce it, and he's just like, Wars of Sky, it's amazing! You know what I mean? Kind of like you did, Brad.
Brutal!
I'm going to go with that from now on. Yeah. More coaching news. The Bruins brought back Jay Leach from Seattle. For a while, he was the head coach in Providence, the Boston Bruins AHL team for a while. It was rumored that he was being interviewed by the Bruins for the head coaching position before Jim Montgomery got hired. And when that didn't happen, the Kraken threw him away as an assistant coach over there. Now with the new regime, it seems like he's looking for a new home. So he is now in Boston, which leaves a vacancy in Seattle, which is going to be interesting to see if Jessica Campbell comes up with Dan Bylsma once he's done winning the Calder Cup.
And he's coming in as an assistant coach, so he'll be under Jim Montgomery, right?
Correct. Yeah, I guess he's a defensive coach, so he might be specializing in defense, it sounds like to me. But
how do you feel about it?
I love it. I was pushing for him to be the head coach before Montgomery. You know.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the other thing, like this is the other thing, like when Montgomery was getting interviewed, I was pushing for Nate Lehman to get the head coaching job. He's the Providence College head coach. He did USA World Juniors. He won. He was the coach with the trash barrel and the team photo and all that stuff went down. So, obviously I was wrong about Jim Montgomery because he's basically had 2 record-breaking seasons. But I think Jay Leach will do well, and it's going to be interesting to see what the next year brings.
They just need pieces.
For the Bruins.
They need pieces.
They got money to spend too. And they're saying now Olmark might go for a top 10 pick, which I would be shocked at. So we'll see. They're saying maybe New Jersey's number 10 overall pick for Olmark. I saw.
I mean, people can get desperate for goalies. Obviously. People can get that. You might get that, Kaz. I can totally see a team being desperate enough to give you guys a top 10 pick.
And New Jersey sounds like a team that's desperate for a goalie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. New Jersey has always needed that. So since your boy Broder. So
now we mentioned David Quinn earlier because he was fired by San Jose, which has now been fulfilled, that head coaching position. But what's up with David Quinn? Well, he was hired as an assistant coach as well by the Pittsburgh Aging Penguins. So,
back to the Metropolitan.
It's the whole carousel thing. It's just reuse, reduce, recycle. It's crazy.
We should all be following that mantra. Make sure you recycle and reduce.
It's just
and reuse.
Like, it's like the list of names people look at for coaching positions is just who's been fired recently. Oh, that guy looks good.
My issue with this, though, is like David Quinn hasn't proven to me, in my opinion, to be deserving of any sort of coaching position, whether it be assistant or head coach in the NHL. I mean, I understand he really hasn't had much of a shot. I mean, with the Rangers, that was his best shot. But I just don't understand why the Penguins would do this. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
So he obviously was the head coach of San Jose when Erik Karlsson went off, and
that's true.
Maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. I think Erik Karlsson's scoring days are behind him at this point. I don't think bringing David Quinn in to the coaching staff is going to change that. But I just saw
a hope and a prayer
that, like, they're like, well, he was Erik Karlsson's coach when he had the 100-point season. Okay.
I didn't take that into consideration, but I also don't think that's going to matter. Like you said, Karlsson's like over the hill at this point. How much longer is he's going to ride out his $11 million contract? Is it? And ride off into the sunset once that's done. So I don't think bringing David Quinn in to the Pittsburgh Penguins is going to help with any sort of point production on that end.
No. Go for it.
I was just gonna say Carlson was probably like, "Yes, I'm finally away from David Quinn," and then a year later he's back with Pittsburgh. He's like, "Gosh, dang
Kind of
it."
like Dubinsky with John Tortorella.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have, like, we can't actually answer this question accurately, but if you had to guess, if you're a coach in the NHL or AHL, would you rather go from NHL head coach to AHL head coach or NHL head coach to NHL assistant coach?
I'd rather
The
still be
pay
in
is
the
better for the
NHL.
team.
Probably better for the
Yeah.
NHL assistant. Yeah.
You think?
I'd rather still be in the NHL. Getting
Imagine riding the
AHL
buses instead of the charter planes. You know what I mean?
Well, I would
ride a
think
bus.
the mentality is like you want to show that you can head coach a team for your resume.
assistant coaches have become head coaches, though. I mean, we've seen that already this season.
We just talked about
Yes.
one where that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wars of Sky.
I wonder if these guys who've been hired as assistant coaches, Jay Leach and David Quinn, I wonder if they even tried to test the AHL head coach pool.
I
Well,
feel
like-
like that would be a demotion to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with Jesse. Like, you look at Jay Leach, he was the head coach of Providence, and he left to go be the assistant coach in Seattle. He hasn't looked back. So I agree with Jesse. I think it's a promotion. And you think about it, like, think about over the last couple of years, how many more assistant coaches went on to become head coaches in the NHL versus AHL head coaches. Like, Dan Bilesma is the unicorn, but he was already an NHL head coach anyway.
Yeah.
Or the Toronto guy. He's not in Toronto anymore.
Keith.
Yeah,
Sheldon Keefe.
Sheldon Keefe. Yeah.
Current New Jersey Devils head coach.
Yes. Because he was the Marlies head coach, then became the Maple Leafs head coach. Now he's in New Jersey.
Eldon, it looks like you need a goalie. I'll trade you for a 10th overall pick. And Jesper Brett.
We've got one more coaching piece of news. It's not head coach or assistant coach, but Brian Elliott, who used to play goalie for the St. Louis Blues, he has returned to St. Louis as the goaltending scout and player development coach. I don't really have much more to say about that.
I was going to say, and that's that.
Well,
I mean, I
Yeah.
love seeing players return to like the team they built their career on and being part of the development aspect.
He's a legend there.
Segue a little bit. Roberto Luongo, who is currently on the Panthers head coaching staff, as I'm pretty sure this is what his position is goaltending scout player development. So he would get to come full circle and potentially get a ring because he's
Finally.
on the staff there. Yeah.
Another
Yeah,
reason why they have to lose.
One thing I did want to talk, we forgot to put this on the list, but we're talking about St. Louis. They did make another big announcement. And it's kind of one that's a little bit confusing. Maybe not that confusing, but it's definitely unique. So they extended their GM, George Armstrong, for 3 years, but then also hired Alexander Steen, who played with them for a pretty long time, had some good years with them.
Doug Armstrong, right?
Sorry, what did I say?
I don't know. I think you might have said Jim or something.
Doug Armstrong. That's the correct name. Alexander Steen was also signed to be basically the assistant to the general manager, and I'm not even joking. That's literally what it's called. He will be the assistant to the general manager.
He's Dwight
Or-
Schrute.
He will be the assistant for those 3 years that Armstrong got extended, and then he will become the GM. So I wonder how Armstrong's feeling about that. Like, he just knows he's getting kind of pushed out of that position. Maybe they'll keep him in the organization.
I think they are.
Yeah,
I think
he'll
he's
be
going to be
president.
president of hockey
that's what it
operations.
is.
Yeah.
Okay. He still will be GM for these 3 years, as far as I know, I think.
Right. Yeah. And then after that, he's going to shift over into president of hockey operations. And then
Okay.
GM in waiting, Alexander Steen, will be taking over from there.
Which is the
Pretty
Dwight
excited.
Schrute arc. It's the Dwight Schrute arc, really.
Gosh, it's just recycle.
It will be much shorter, only 3 years versus 9.
I'm pretty sure at this point I'm convinced that NHL is the worst job market to try and become a new hire for anything. It's impossible.
I mean, I think the difference between the NHL and any other major league is like those leagues keep their coaches for a lot longer. I feel I don't really watch like MLB, NFL, NBA. So I maybe I could be misspeaking, but I know for the NFL, those guys stay on as head coaches for ever.
No, yeah, it's not
Right?
just NHL. It's almost like if you become a head coach at a pro level, unless you just really suck, like Glenn Golitzin. I
Speaking of
believe
suck,
he is
I'm
on the
available.
coaching. Glenn Golitzin, I think, is on the staff of the Oilers. I don't know what his position is. He's not assistant coach, but he was the head coach of the Dallas Stars at one point for 1 or 2 years. But it's all the pro leagues. If you make it as a coach and you don't just really suck, it's basically like you've got tenure. It might not be with that team, but you'll find a job.
Yeah, the difference with the NHL is that you're probably just going to be on 17 different teams by the time your career's over, whereas in the NFL, you're probably going to be the head coach for the team your entire career.
Yeah, or if you're just like super weird and creepy, like
I'm available.
Babcock or Quinville.
I'm not available for things like that, no.
Then you might not get recycled. More Columbus news, which is not really surprising in my opinion.
I agree.
Patrick Laine, he wants out. He wants a fresh start again. Probably playing too much Fortnite.
Victory Royale, right, Patrick? I mean, this doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm already seeing articles of like, should my team take him? Should the Rangers take him? Should the Penguins go for him? Should blah, 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 blah. Like, I know I saw Carolina thrown in there too. And it's like,
I saw like basically all
every one of them. Yeah, every one of them. And I see fans talking about, like I see Rangers fans talking about going for Laine. And I'm just like, I mean, as unfortunate as it is, he's injured so often, and it's like what are you gonna give up to get him? I know I do think he's a good hockey player. I think that he's just stifled in Columbus for whatever reason. But at the same time, like he's shown that he just can't get his whatever he's got going on in order to produce and be a good player in the roster. So it's like, do you really want to take that chance on him?
To me, I feel like Chicago would make sense here. Like,
I was gonna say that as a joke.
Oh, as a joke?
Well, it's like
know.
that's like there's two ways you look at it. Do you want him to go to a team that has good structure and player development that pushes him to be better, work out more, stuff like that? Or do you want to go to a team that's just going to let you do whatever you want to do? And that would be Chicago for me. And
That's
that would be funny.
Point. I like that perspective, actually.
But I don't know what team has it.
Eat half the salary, I'll trade you. You know, I'll take them.
What would you be willing to give up?
The way I look at it is if DeBrusque goes off, you know what I mean? If DeBrusque goes somewhere in unrestricted free agency, he could be a replacement for DeBrusque. And I have a feeling Columbus is going to want to dump that salary versus looking for capital in return. I don't think they'll do the whole future considerations thing, but I think you can get him for like a fifth or a sixth.
So you'd trade DeBrusque for Laine.
DeBrusque's going to walk, I think. First.
So you'd trade the rights to DeBrusque for Laine and take on the salary?
Half. I can't. The Bruins can't eat 8.7. They could eat 4. Whatever.
I think that'd be a Columbus win.
Is he really making 8.7? That is.
He's making 8.7. DeBrusque made $4 million last year. So it's basically you still have like a top 6 winger.
I got you.
$4 million. That's the way I look at it. It's kind of crazy because both Laine and Luc Dubois, 2 of the top 3 picks in that draft, have both gotten out of the city that they were traded to. You know, if Laine ends up moving. So.
The thing about Laine, though, is when a player comes out and says, I want to be traded, and then the team acknowledges it publicly, and they say, we're going to do our best. That's like a garage sale sign on the corner of your neighborhood.
Fire sale?
So to me, I think you take them for all you can. Send them an 8th round pick and say, or 7th round pick and say, hey, you know, you retain 75%.
Listen, I'm going back to that 2016 draft. So Austin Matthews, first overall, absolute hit. But then listen to the next 4 picks. You got Patrick Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and then after that, Jesse Puljujarvi, and then Olli Juolevi. You guys even remember him?
Jokinen? Olli Jokinen? Yeah.
No, Juolevi. He was drafted by Vancouver. He basically was traded to Florida for nothing, and then Florida's like, this guy stinks, so we just let him walk. We threw him on waivers, and someone else claimed him. I don't remember who it was, but so a lot of misses in that top 5. Oh,
Well, I wonder how long it will take for Goudreau to ask out.
I mean,
he signed like an 8-year deal, right?
He's got a long contract, and he's getting paid a lot of money. So, I mean, if he wants out, he's gonna have to. They're gonna have to eat a lot of that cap. No, I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Sucks. Don't go to Columbus. You're a hockey player.
Should have went to Philly
Or New Jersey.
Or even San Jose. At least you got views there. I mean, you can oceanfront property.
That's right.
Or just settle in Columbus, Ohio and suck. God. Yeesh.
Columbus is the place to be, Ethan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ohio. Anyway,
Amanda,
what's
your
the next
turn.
one?
Yes, Amanda needs to take this one for sure.
I will gladly take this one because this was one that I was very excited to hear about. One that I wasn't actually quite sure was going to happen based off of all the rumblings I had been reading and hearing. But the Canes officially signed Jalen Chatfield for 3 more years. Such an important piece of our defense. And again, this is like one of the highlights for me of like, this was one of the players that the Canes needed to retain this offseason with the massive amounts of signings that they need.
They got him
3x3.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got him for a good price too, and you know, it's a win-win for both sides, right? In my opinion, because he's got the Canes are paying $3 million for him. I think that's a steal. And then he has a full no movement clause for the first 2 years, and then a 15-team no trade list in the last year. So it's a win-win on both sides. They can't just get rid of him if they don't want him. And he's getting paid a pretty decent amount for the Canes. That they're still gonna have some money left over to do what they need to do and sign the players they need to sign.
This
It was
contract
definitely
shows
a
a
very
lot.
team-friendly deal.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was going to get into. Chatfield clearly wants to be in Carolina, and you love
For whatever
to see
reason.
That. I mean, when you
Why? I
ask
don't
for
know.
a no trade clause on only a $3 million 3-year deal, that says that you want to be there. You want to be a part of the team.
I think both sides were like, yeah, I'll totally sign that. Here we go. All right, thank you.
It'll be interesting to see what Carolina continues to do. They've got a lot to do, as do a lot of teams.
Mhm.
But we'll see how it pays going forward with the 3x3.
See,
It
this
was,
is what
it
I
was
love
definitely
about.
a plus for this new GM. Of like, oh, okay, you can actually get things done.
Hey, you got
Sorry,
your feet
Kat.
wet. Okay, and a little easy toss up.
Well, I know Florida's back to back right now, going to the Stanley Cup final. But this is what I love about the NHL. Like any team can make a couple moves and basically be in it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Whereas the NBA, Celtics were the favorite going into the year, and they're playing for the championship trophy tonight. So, you know, NHL has more disparity between the 32 teams in the league. Yeah,
Any
Jesse?
team can win the cup. Any team.
exactly. Except the Rangers. Speaking of the Rangers, Jesse, you got something to talk about.
They re-signed Capo Caco. Can we move on, please?
The Jim
No,
we
but
shared after we shared this was hilarious. It's the Jim Carrey pulling his hair off. I'm like, Jesse was probably actually doing that when he saw this news.
In all seriousness, the New York Rangers did extend Capo Caco for 1 year, single year, $2.4 million. This is kind of like that make it or break it deal that they gave to Lafreniere last year, who made it, I think, in my opinion, this season. But Kako's, he's been struggling. He has not been the point producer that the New York Rangers expected him to be. He even said it in his exit interview that he's like, I've been given the opportunity to do this. I couldn't do it. They moved me down the line. Like, he was playing with Mika and Kreider for a little bit, and he just couldn't, like, they did not look good at all. They were not meshing well, and Capo just looked lost out there. I wanted him to go, honestly. I wanted them to trade his rights to somebody to get something else. But I guess, I can't really complain about $2.4 million. I can't really complain about 1 year. Obviously, if he shows that he doesn't have what it takes to stay in New York, they're going to get rid of him at the trade deadline, without a doubt.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's a kick the tire deal. You're going to kick the tires, see if there's any life in it, and then come trade deadline, worst case scenario, you've got some ammo, some trade ammo, make a move, depending on where the Rangers are at the trade deadline. If you seem far out, then trade for some picks, give someone a rental player, and then if you are close, maybe you can work a deal out where he's part of a package to get the player that you actually want. I think it works out. It's not a terrible deal.
The other thing I noticed was it's a bit of a technicality. I guess it was basically his qualifying offer because he was an RFA. It's not like they negotiated. It's basically like, hey, this is your qualifying offer. This is what you get.
He said yes, and they were like, no.
Yeah, but he knew he hadn't. Like, I think he wants to stay in New York, and he knew that if he didn't take this, then he was done. They weren't going to give him any more than they needed to give him to keep him there, and which is smart. I think it's on both sides. It's a wise idea. They're giving him the opportunity to prove what he's got. This is your final shot, kid. Do what you need to do, or you're gone. And if I were in his position, I would do the same thing. I'd be like, fine, let me show you what I can do. I'll take, the bare minimum that you have to give me, and I will do the best that I can next season to produce. It's a win-win.
He's got just
Makes
enough
sense.
to
Plus-
maybe get a studio apartment in Manhattan for one.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want to go anywhere else like Carolina. I mean, you look at the Rangers. They have $10 million in salary cap, and they basically have to sign Lindgren, who's an RFA, Wenberg, Roslovic, and Blake Wheeler are all up too.
And they can all go.
The only people you care about. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think Lindgren's going to get, Jesse? Because we always tutor someone pretty good. I like him because he's a former Bruin prospect, and obviously he's on your team. So top line too.
I think that he would get no more than 5. I'll say 5.5.
I was like,
Kako had a lot of injury issues this year, didn't he? Hasn't he had a couple of injury problems?
He was out for a little bit in the beginning of the season. I don't remember the exact amount of days. But yeah, he was.
I might be mixing up some Ranger players. I know you had one guy who was dealing with like just a ton.
No, I don't believe you
that
are.
That was the guy with the name that's weird.
He was. He had an injury to. He had a lower body injury on November 27th, 2023, and then he came back on January 14th, 2024.
Who's your one guy? He was a part of that like kid line.
Philip Hedl.
Hedl. That's the guy who was really dealing with injuries.
Yes, yeah, and he made a comeback off and on in the playoffs. It was nice to see him. I honestly thought he was done. I said it earlier when he suffered that setback, but it was nice to see him come into the lineup a little bit in the playoffs. I think that I wanted him to stay as often as he can in that lineup, because then that means they had to bring Blake Wheeler in, which I did not want, because he skates through molasses every time he's on the ice. If they bring Blake Wheeler back, I'm selling all my jerseys. Buy or sell.
How much?
We'll get to that when we get to that.
I'll take you Patrick Kane one.
That is a
Patrick
Chicago
Kane Ranger
Blackhawks
one.
jersey. I don't have that.
What about
Anyways.
the Tarasenko one?
I don't have that one either.
We can move on. Brett, you've got this first other news segment.
Why not? So the Florida Everblades won their third straight championship. We talked about that a little bit either last episode or 2 episodes ago. But the Everblades announced that they were no longer continuing their affiliation with the Florida Panthers. Their contract was up, and I'm not sure if this was the Panthers' decision or the Everblades' decision. And the reason why I say that is because the Panthers announced today they are now going to be affiliated with the Savannah Ghost Pirates instead.
What a name.
ECHL has some great team names, some great jerseys. So yeah, the Everblades. It was cool to have another Florida team be our affiliate. I've been hoping that a Florida team would expand to the AHL so we could have a Florida AHL team. So it's nice to have that Florida ECHL connection. That's gone, but Savannah's not too far.
That's Georgia, right? I'm assuming.
Right, Savannah, Georgia. Yep. And I mean, we got Charlotte Checkers just north of that in South Carolina. Or is it North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Sorry,
North Carolina.
My bad. One of the Carolinas. So
It's just
we're all
weird.
relatively
The better
southeast.
Carolina.
They're the same state.
What were you
It's
gonna
like,
say, Ethan?
Do you want crap or a little crappier? That's the timing's just weird to me.
The timing is weird. I agree.
It's like we were successful and the Panthers are about to be successful. Let's part ways and let's make it more travel for everyone. And it's just, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I don't know.
I don't know what money's involved with affiliating. I'm sure they have to come to sign some kind of financial term when they sign these contracts to be affiliated with certain teams. So maybe Savannah made a better offer. I don't know.
But
There's
you get
probably-
like the timing. It's just like
I wish
the
they would have waited.
Everblades,
I wish
they
would've
win their third? It was third
waited.
straight.
straight.
Third
Repeat,
straight,
yep.
and then the Panthers make the Stanley Cup Finals. They go up 2-0, and then the Everblades are like, "Hey, by the way, we're not gonna really be part of that anymore. We're too."
And
good
they
for
had
it."
they had a couple Panther prospects on that team, so it's not like the Panthers weren't helping them out at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a ton. You don't have a ton of NHL players or NHL prospects in the ECHL, but they had like 3, I believe, on the team. So,
What happens with them? Do they go to their other affiliates?
so those 3 prospects would now go to the Ghost Pirates.
I see.
Or
Okay.
if they choose to call them up or whatever.
Right. Gotcha.
Well, we're gonna talk more Utah.
Oh,
They keep releasing stuff.
They do. They've announced their jerseys, and obviously it's nothing spectacular. It's just a carryover. But a comment I
I
made
like that one.
in chat
I like
was like this jersey is going to be such a collector's item.
Yeah.
If you get one this year, like 10 years from now, these things are going to be a relic.
And Ethan, I'm glad you say
Fanatics.
that because still enough people aren't. I don't know what's not clicking for them. I don't know what they're not reading. but
Everyone
this-
says it. Everyone says
This jersey will only be here for the first season.
They're really
It's
calling
just
them the
this
Utah
year.
Hockey Club? How stupid that
I-
is.
It hurts my head to read these. I don't reply to them. I hold my. I was gonna say hold my tongue. It's really hold my fingers, I guess. But yeah, guys, this is a jersey that's just gonna be used this year, just kind of like the PWHL jerseys, and this kind of reminds me of the PWHL.
Exactly the
jerseys, to be
same
honest.
concept.
So just this one year, they're gonna get their branding figured out, get it done. And if they do go Utah Yetis, though, I think they might keep this color scheme. I do like it, to be honest. I like the color scheme. I like the black with the light blue.
it also works maybe even better with Utah Blizzard.
I was thinking that too.
Did you see how similar they are to the
Kootenay Ice.
the Winnipeg Ice? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, of the the now defunct Winnipeg Ice of the WHL, because now they're in Wenatchee. But they're very, very similar in color scheme to the Winnipeg Ice. If you have Google up, take a look at it. I think it was more so the away jersey.
Definitely the away, because the home jersey was a blue main. It was mainly blue.
Yeah.
not black.
Very weird.
But the away is like almost identical.
So the black's the alternate, right?
No, black is going to be their home jersey.
So
Like,
blue
if
is
they
the
had- so-
alternate.
The blue's the alternate. So the blue kind of reminds me of Arlington Renegades of the UFL now. It has like that light blue, the black hue.
Yeah.
They ripped that off.
But what is funny is the similarity to a Winnipeg team because it is the same division.
And
I don't-
technically, this team did used to be the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
That's a good
Through
point.
a lot of it's like talking about your third cousin removed.
We're related,
there was-
but we're not.
Pink was out there, purple was out there, brown was out there. I don't know. It's hard to pick a new color that hasn't been used. I will give them that.
Quack, quack, quack,
That's
quack,
LA.
quack, quack, quack.
He's saying
quack,
quack.
quack, 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 quack.
Yeah, there was more logo stuff, which
The sneakiest
A
of
little
sneak
sneak
previews.
peek never hurt anyone. That looks sick. Like
So, yeah,
Superman's wearing an Anaheim Ducks jersey.
They are returning to the Mighty Duck, but as you can tell by this, that is not how the Mighty Duck eye looked before. So it is going to be slightly modernized, slightly updated.
angrier.
If you guys, what you need to do if you really want to follow this stuff, and I'll say it every time because this guy does not have a lot of followers and he deserves it, is Aesthetics. He
No
has
free
all
ads.
that. He has all that insider information. As soon as this stuff is revealed, he's gonna post it. He's gonna make a video about it. Like if you're a jersey kind of guy, that's who you want to follow because when this stuff gets posted, that's where I see it. What do you guys think about it being orange and not the purple and eggplant or the
Taco
eggplant
Bell.
and the
Taco Bell was the
Taco
way.
Bell.
Eggplant. I love it.
I did
You
see.
love it.
I did see that they're going. It's speculation from what I saw on Twitter, but that they're going to be doing like an entire orange kit.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know how I feel about that.
Isn't that kind of like what they did with the Mighty Ducks logo this last year? It was like all orange.
Was it?
It's orange main, but it's not like all orange per se because you had like the black sleeves and I think it was the shoulder was still orange, but the sleeves
and the
were
pants
black.
were black.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacob. Jacob says he loves the colors. He's excited to see the rest of it. I agree.
I
But
don't know if
it's a
he
Minnesota Wild fan, and what do you have to be excited for?
he may
They
have
almost
been
had
talking
something
about
to be
the Utah thing. I don't know when he said that.
You'll have to
One
I was
one
gonna assume 1 minute ago it was Ducks.
one funny thing about this whole reveal with the Ducks thing, the way I saw the graphic, it was without context at first, and I first thought of, are the Sabres doing some weird jersey thing? And this is like a rendition of the buffalo head looking the other way or something.
Go ahead ish.
It was so trippy. And then once I realized it was the Ducks, I was like, okay, I get it.
You almost got kind of a Nike swoosh in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're getting a
sponsored by
cease and desist.
Yeah, it looks angry. I'm interested to see what the rest of it looks like. But I guess we won't know until draft day, which is next week.
2 weeks.
No.
28th.
Gosh, what?
Oh, draft day. Yes, I'm thinking about the.
Next Friday.
Yeah, no, disregard. I'm thinking about the something else. I don't know what I'm thinking about. Free agency.
Oh, yeah. July 1st.
Yeah.
2 weeks from today,
Right
I
around the corner.
believe.
Yeah.
Right around the corner,
Wild back.
indeed. This year's just
So-
gone by
I think
too
that
quick,
There
man.
should be a little bit of gap. Yeah.
The way it's going to play out, we'll probably talk more about this next episode, but our next episode, we're going to recap Stanley Cup Finals, talk about any news that happens between now and then. And then we're going to do a draft recap after draft day 1, talk about potential free agent moves ahead of the deadline. And then we're going to take the summer off and
Yeah.
maybe do an episode once a month through the summer just so that we cover the news, and then we'll go into next season.
Yeah, because I need to enjoy what little sunshine I can in the Pacific Northwest before
I
it
need
starts to rain
salvage
again.
My marriage.
Are you sure?
My cat
Every
going
Saturday night.
insane right now.
What?
I have to go find a wife. That's what I'm going to do this summer.
Selfish.
That's what he's going to do this summer is find a wife.
Amanda has like 18
Good luck.
sisters. It's okay.
She's tearing up everything.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we close this thing out?
Oil.
I really am 100% confident in the Florida Panthers' capability
Jesse, stop
to win
it
the
right
Stanley
now.
Cup.
Ah!
We could do a quick poll. Does Florida close it out tomorrow night? Yes or no? I say yes.
100% without a doubt.
I refuse to vote.
No, you have to vote.
Brett
You have to
abstains.
vote.
Oh, I abstain.
Just what's your vote? What's your guess? Worst case scenario is you say no, and we're like, haha, you were wrong. But then it's like you won the cup, so
Brett's like convinced if he says the wrong ball at the wrong time, the team's gonna lose. So
he is a very
get out of my head.
superstitious man.
I can't get out of my head.
Okay, so are you saying yes or no?
it sounded like a yes.
Maybe.
It's a yes. Okay, Cass.
Jesus
Maybe
Christ.
not.
Like
Maybe
asking
not.
it's like asking my wife, what do you want for dinner? Maybe this, maybe not. You want pho? Maybe. Let's just have pizza rolls. Okay, sick. I think Edmonton's pushing it all the way to Game 7.
Ooh.
But I can't let this go. Can't let this
Amanda,
go.
Amanda,
Actually,
what's
you know
your-
what?
Huh?
Before Amanda goes, I don't want to see Brett have a fucking aneurysm as I just wore live. So maybe the Panthers could close it out, and we don't have to worry about Brett having health conditions over the stress. LC will probably be happy it's over.
What's Amanda
Yeah.
think?
I think they easily close it out. The Panthers
Easily.
do.
Oh,
Easily.
that would be nice. That would be so nice. I don't
I'm
think it'll
gonna call like a 10-0 game
happen. Oh my god.
tomorrow night.
Spoilers.
But he's not going to
What
say
is
which
the
team. He's not going to say which team scores 10. He's just going to leave that up to the imagination.
I think Bob gets pulled again.
Oh, you know what?
For the
Before we do close
for the
out,
second period.
that was a conversation I had with Nick, who's been on the podcast, talking about could Bob still win the Conn Smythe, and I think he does, unless he just really messes up tomorrow night.
If the Panthers do win, I want it to go to Barkov. He's the longest tenured Panther. He's their best player.
That's not what you look at.
But he has
I
the
was gonna
most
say,
points.
that's like
He has the most points on the team, and the defensive value is higher than any other forward in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Any team.
But he also finished last night with a -2, 0 assists, 0 goals, and 2 shots on net.
and
In-
Bobrovsky's stats are significantly worse than that.
In their defense, no one on that team played well.
Yeah, there were
So,
some -3s.
Stallars played the best. Stallars was the best player on the
He still let in 3 goals.
best player on the ice that night.
we know what's gonna happen. The Panthers are gonna win the cup, and Connor McDavid's gonna be the Conn Smythe.
I don't even
That
care
was-
if that happens. I don't honestly. I was thinking about that. Like Connor McDavid's had a historic playoff run. I can see them giving it to him, and I wouldn't bother me even a little bit.
Oh, it'd just be so tacky.
He only has like 3 goals, doesn't he? I know he's got a lot of assists, but I mean,
He has the
32, I
most
think.
assists in a single postseason ever. He beat a
Mhm.
Gretzky record. Isn't that? I mean, that's insane.
Congrats, you passed the puck. Woo.
And they haven't gone to a Game 7, have they?
No, against Vancouver.
Yeah.
Remember, they were down 3-2 and then won Game 6 and Game 7.
God, if it's not Bobrovsky.
Imagine being down 3-0 and losing 4 games straight. Anyway,
Amanda.
I am imagining it, and I
Amanda,
hate
what's
it.
going on?
he's been replaying it over and over and over in his head since Saturday. Which I totally understand because I am also Doom. Nothing but Doom. So I get it.
Yeah, I'm just like, I have to go to work the next day. It is what it is.
It looks like Amanda's being tortured by her child, which we can see, but you cannot.
Look at that face. She's like, yes, I am absolutely torturing my mother. Thank you so much.
You want to close this out?
Me?
Yes. No, the one being tortured. Yeah, you, Amanda.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Close us out.
She's like, now.
So that's it for this week's podcast. We thank you all for listening. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter, because I'm like Jesse and will not call it X, at Top Shelf Dusters Podcast for both of them. And we will be back next week with hopefully a very good outcome for Brett for the playoffs.
With certainty, 100%.
Ugh.
Love it.
Sorry, Brett. Blame Jesse for that one. But thank you, everyone, for listening.
And we will catch you next week. She's still being tortured by her child. Have a good week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.